Today's story was written by Reddit user jpitha. It is unlikely that humans are the only predator species to achieve sapience in the galaxy. In order to be a successful predator, one has to be intelligent enough to learn your prey's movements and be able to think ahead to what they're going to do next, but also be flexible enough in your thinking that you can improvise if the situation changes. If you don't have this elasticity, you won't be a very successful predator. Humans are very successful predators. Greg bent down low and spoke as quietly as he could to the worried Cephagons next to him. "I need you to stay as still as you can. I'm going to go around and try and surprise the Gren guarding the exit." The three Cephagons, caught between wanting to obey Greg and staying silent, but also trying to communicate that they thought it was suicide to do so, and started shaking. No, it'll be fine. I've been watching him. He's not really paying attention." Greg stood silently and put one finger to his lips, then smiled. Moving much quieter than one would think given his mass, Greg crept away, hunched down just a little to keep motion out of the tops of the bushes they used to hide. The Cephagons watched in horrified fascination as Greg would take a few steps and then freeze, not even breathing while he watched the Gren. As he walked, he made no noise at all over the soft sand, his feet finding purchase slowly. The Cephagons, a small insectoid species from a rocky mountainous world, felt very old fears from the most early parts of their brains while watching him hunt the Gren. The Gren guard was panning slowly as he guarded the exit, his fur flat, his eyes dull and his mouth parts drooping. If one knew a bit about Gren physiology, one could easily see that he was bored and tired. His shift wasn't due to end for another 3 demi-cycles, and nothing usually ever happened on this exit. When Greg was no more than 2 meters away, he reached down and picked up a stone, no larger than a comm badge. He raised his arm and in one silent fluid motion, tossed the stone high and far over his head to hide its origin. It clattered against the wall on the far side of the pen, opposite to where Greg was standing. The noise and motion caught the Gren's eye, and his whole body swung over to where the stone landed. His back was turned to Greg. Greg bent his legs low, building energy, and took 2 steps and leapt onto the Gren's back. His higher mass bowled the taller, much lighter Gren over, and the Gren's head hit the stone with a hollow thwack. Greg jumped off the Gren and checked him quickly. He was dead. Trotting quickly over to where the Cephagons were still hiding, he motioned for them to follow. Still terrified, they followed this ambush predator they were scared of, and by the time they reached him, he had gotten the comm out of the Gren's pack and was fiddling with a ring that had complicated studs all around it, fitting them against the door until one clicked and the door hissed open. Minutes later, they were all running across the desert to the canal below, where they had hoped to cling to the side of a barge and float to the spaceport. "Human Greg! Human Greg!" the smallest Cephagon called as they jogged down the sandy hill towards the canal. "What is it, Lee? Can it wait?" "That was amazing! I've never seen a human hunt before. Is that how they all do it?" "Not really. Humans developed as persistent hunters, not ambush hunters. But as you well know, skills can be taught." "Persistence hunter?" "Yeah, my ancestors would pick an animal out of a herd and run after it. As long as we didn't overexert ourselves, we could just run until it died." The 3 Cephagons looked at each other as they jogged. Greg wasn't breathing heavily as they went towards the canal, but all 3 of them were nearly at their limit and would need a long time to rest when they were safe. "Human Greg, you scare us." The tallest Cephagons looked back at the holding compound and then back at Greg. "But not as much as we were scared of what the Gren would have done to us." Greg smiled, showing his wide, large white teeth. In this world, sometimes you need to be scary. He looked at the canal. Come on, the water isn't too cold. Let's get in and swim towards that barge. It's not too far.